All right. Sorry about that. I was just getting making sure everything's running good. We're ready to go for tonight's episode of Beyond the NFT. Very happy to see you all here. I see a few of you in Twitch. Welcome. Thank you very much for popping in. 13, J Name, Make. I see you out there. Sevga, Rustan, Odd Job. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Alan Howick. We got Roots in the building. Yo, Roots, I gotta get you back on Beyond the NFT, my brother, because I've seen your build. I've seen all the improvements you have made since the last time I interviewed you. When you came on Beyond the NFT, you had a single parcel with that, with the the structure there, and I love to see how your world has expanded into an entire field. So we definitely keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Hello, Ada. Ada Lovelace. Thank you very much for joining us. If this is your first time here at Beyond the NFT, make sure to ask plenty of questions to our guest. This is a Monday night talk show that we host every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Let's see, looking around the room. What up, Graphical? Thank you very much for popping in. There, I see the lovely Brittany rocking her muse. She's all mewed up, ready to go for tonight. And right next to her, we have Zara. Mew, 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 Zara. And we got Old Guy in the building. Welcome. And Cube Elf, thank you very much for joining us. Of course, we have the legendary Stony Eye. Awesome show earlier, Stony. Thank you, Rustan. Thank you, Stony, for the shows over at Mofaya Monday. And of course, we cannot forget about Felons, my good friend. Thank you for pulling up. So I'm just gonna bring up the list here, make sure I didn't miss anyone, like Z Kyle, Z. I gotta learn how to say your name, man. We're gonna jump in a chat one of these days, and you're gonna let me know. Zikael, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. um, let's see. Okay, I believe I may have said hello to all of you. We got Multi Hulk that just popped in. Thank you very much for popping in. Welcome to the CBD Plaza. So we have our guest in the backstage, ready to go. Tonight we have Sean Mann joining us, co-founder of RP1. Should be a good episode. Should be a fun one. So stand by, everyone. And of course, you see the logo up above that way over there. That is a Bucktown MMA. Big shout out to Bucktown. Thank you for sponsoring us here for Beyond the NFT. And yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna go backstage, get us ready to go for tonight's show. Love you all. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the NFT. I am your host, Sinful, and tonight we're joined by Sean Mann, co founder and CEO of RP1. Sean and his team are building the first metaverse browser infrastructure designed to do for the spatial internet what the web browser did for the World Wide Web. Tonight, we're diving into open standards, the future of spatial computing, and what it takes to move past walled gardens into a truly open metaverse. Let's go beyond the NFT. Welcome, Sean. Thank you so much for
Well,
joining us here on Beyond the NFT. How are you doing tonight?
how's it going, Sinful? It's great to see you.
How'd you like that intro?
The intro was perfect. I mean, I was like, wow, I like this.
uh, so usually when I like to just start off the show by passing the mic over to the guest in case the intro did you no justice or if it did, but it requires more details. So if the mic is yours, feel free to say hello to everyone and share a little bit about yourself, who you are, and how we got to where we are today.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate you inviting me to be on the show. And it's amazing to be with your followers and for people that really are interested about the future of the metaverse and kind of even what the metaverse is. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But I've been in technology my entire life. I was actually a gamer, back in the college days, and before then, I was actually a Street Fighter 2 champion in the world and a big Ultima Online player. And I got into tech, and I've been a part of a lot of tech companies where I had to take 0 to 1, really taking a really unique product and bringing it to market. And that's been my career for a couple decades. And about 5 years ago, we got started with a company called RP1, and we started around technology that when we heard about the idea of the metaverse, which I think when we all really fell in love with the name, was the idea that you can be this one person and easily connect to an unlimited number of places and games and work or whatever you wanted to do, and it would be seamless, just like how you move from one website to another. And it was funny because my partner, one of the biggest challenges for the big idea of the metaverse was how do you connect a billion people seamlessly when you're only stuck being able to put 20 to 50 people in a single snow globe. And my partner was like, well, I solved that technology. And he said, let's tell the world we did this so we can really make this big vision happen sooner. And it was funny because there's lots of articles saying, well, the biggest limitation of actually creating a worldwide metaverse was that the chipsets weren't capable, or the hardware wasn't capable of connecting the world in real time in these 3D spaces and digital twins in the real world. And we actually solved that problem. And so RP1 was started, and 5 years later, here we are together, in this chat.
Here we are, and definitely we've had plenty of chats in the past throughout the years as well. I feel like in a way I've had the opportunity to see the development and progress of RP1 as you've also developed as an individual here in the Web3 space. So RP1, you are co-founder, CEO. For those who are not familiar, what is RP1 building and why does the world need a metaverse browser?
Yeah. So we started off, like I said, building scaling technology. So the ability to scale to an unlimited number of users with spatial audio and sixth off, which is your ability to move avatars in any direction and do that all in real time. And not only are we able to do it with a billion users, but we can do it uncharted, which means everyone's connected to each other no matter where you go. So it's seamless to make a phone call or easily teleport to one place or walk to another place or go from the real world from virtual reality, all seamless. And so we solved that. And as we were demonstrating these technologies, we had a couple light bulb moments. We were actually building the construct of a web browser, of an actual metaverse browser using WebXR. And WebXR, for anyone that doesn't know, is really the layer that is added onto the current World Wide Web to add these 3D aspects, 3D spaces that you can own and manage. And we ran into a whole bunch of challenges. And we realized that we needed to help build the infrastructure for the world to be able to own and operate their own, let's call it 3D website, which is really what we refer to as a spatial fabric. And so we started building out not only just a WebXR prototype to show off these really cool technologies. But then we realized that no one company can own that. And so, in fact, the biggest news is that we actually took a lot of our prototyping and we're now building something called Sneeze under the Metaverse Standards Forum, where I'm a board member. And we're actually building an open source engine that can be put into current web browsers, into devices, and also into standalone metaverse browsers to enable this evolution for the entire World Wide Web. And so it's been one heck of a journey. So RP1 kind of has, there's kind of like two hats I get to wear in this conversation. There's the one where I'm building open standards not owned by any company, including RP1. And then RP1 actually just becomes a service provider. So when people build their 3D websites and need to scale to lots of users, we're hopeful that they may want to use our services to make it super seamless at a really, really low cost, like kind of like hosting your own website. And so that's kind of the parallel in which RP1 rides along with the open standards that we're also creating.
And before we dig deeper into that, in your intro, you mentioned that you've been around tech and entrepreneurship all your life. What path led you to focus on spatial computing and open metaverse?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's funny. I've always been a techie. You know what I mean? I think once you're a gamer, you're into being an early adopter of new tech, like when new phones come out or new devices or things. Like I always like wanted to be the first, and I always wanted to play around and learn the technologies. And I think there's lots of people that exist out there that are like that. And it was always kind of fun to be, in the know and be able to share with my friends something cool that's coming out or that's going to impact your life. And so I've worked across, everything from security to the medical side of the world, even to cellular type products. And so I've been in tech, and I really have this strength in trying to take something that's 0 to 1, really from the get go. No one's ever heard about it, and get it to where a lot of people and companies get interested in really helping a company succeed around a new product or new idea. And like I said, I was sitting down with a friend and we were talking about the metaverse, and he was talking about the technology that he built. And he was actually the head architect of Full Tilt Poker, and he had to
Wow.
solve a really hard technical problem. He was like, Full Tilt Poker is one of the largest poker companies in the
Yes.
world,
Hmm.
and he had to figure out how to put 100,000 poker players in a single uncharted thing. And I use the term uncharted, and maybe it'll be helpful to clarify. So if you think about like Fortnite, you can put like 100 people in Fortnite and you play the game, but there's tens of millions of people that are playing. But when you're in a game with those 100 people, you can't talk to, connect, or interact with anyone outside of the people that are actually in your single game, your single instance. It's called an instance or a shard, which is a little bit more of a technical term. And that's kind of the metaverse problem, is that right now it's we're building all these little snow globes that everyone has, lack of interoperability and fragmentation, and it's not easy to go from one snow globe to another. And so when he saw this problem, he's like, well, I built the technology to solve this, but I don't know how to get it out there. And so we joined forces and created a company, and here we are, taking this to market as far as trying to help the world build the future of virtual and real life spaces that you can connect to and have massive co-presence.
Nice. I think the space is very lucky to have you. And so, from our previous conversations and just hearing you speak overall, I've always heard you, or I often hear you compare the current state of spatial computing to the AOL moment of early internet.
Yes.
Can you
Yes.
expand on that parallel?
Yeah. So I mean, for everyone that's I'm going to age myself. I mean, I'm not that old. I don't feel that old. I still play basketball 3 times a week and kill a whole bunch of 20, 30 year olds. But as you get older, you realize that this is going back a couple decades. But before the World Wide Web existed, there were walled garden companies, like single companies that their sole job was to keep you inside their walls. That's why it's called a walled garden.
Mhm.
And so AOL was one of those companies. In fact, when before the World Wide Web existed, everyone thought AOL was the internet. It was the World Wide Web, where you have your email, you have your marketplaces, you have portals, you have all these things that you can do and do commerce. And then you had companies like Prodigy and CompuServe that came out, and none of them were compatible. In fact, when you got an email address in AOL, you couldn't send an email to someone in CompuServe or Prodigy. Can you believe that? So there was completely fragmented. And eventually someone invented the web browser, created the standards that ushered in the World Wide Web. And there's one thing that AOL could not compete with. AOL is a single multi-billion dollar company. They could not build the tools that the world would want to use. And they couldn't, once the World Wide Web and the browser and the standards came out, everyone could build tools, everyone can own and operate their own websites, have full control of their data, and the world started building together. And that was a huge moment a couple of decades ago. And we're kind of at that same place right now for the idea of the metaverse. And the idea of the metaverse is the evolution of the web to handle all the spatial computing, to handle the future of AR glasses and digital twins and smart cities and robotics and all these cool things. But the web was really limited. So we actually have AOL like companies today. And it's not I don't want to point AOL as being a negative company. I mean, I think it's a part of the journey. But we do have companies like Meta. We do have other companies that are in that same realm that are really trying to build the devices and the ecosystems that you have to be inside, but it's not compatible with any of the other platforms. And so you have this fragmentation that hurts all of us to really kind of eventually get to this big open ecosystem that I refer to as the open metaverse.
And I want to give a big shout out to One Existence. Thank you, One Existence, for connecting us and making the show happen today.
Yes, definitely kudos to One Existence.
Yeah, he's such a real one. Love that guy so much. Uh, moving forward, let's see. Would follow up question to that first one? Would you say that spatial computing spatial computing faces the same challenges that it did back in the AOL days, or like or at least the challenges that the person that invented the browser had to kind of bring everyone together? Do you feel like the same
Yes.
challenges are present?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, look, for good reason. You have big companies that are spending a lot of money inventing new technologies to allow us to really understand and partake in like spatial, uh, software and experiences. And so I look at them as all the pioneers of showing what's possible and enabling people to play. But if you think about the challenges you have today, you remember, I don't know if you guys remember alt space, but you build an alt space, you have your own space, you have friends, you create communities, you start doing work, and all of a sudden Microsoft says, you know what, it's not something we want to do anymore, and everyone lost everything that they did. And so if you look across all the wall garden platforms, there's lots of them that were here and disappeared. There's software ecosystems that were here and disappeared. And if we really want to move the world to an open metaverse where we're looking at, you walk into an airport and AI greets you and helps you drop off your bags and helps you find the gates or order a burger, or you can go around and someone in VR or at home can join you in the real world and you can instantly talk to them and interact and they can see what you see. We knew that this was not going to work with just a whole bunch of wall gardens trying to connect to each other, right? Because there's no way to get a Meta to agree to work with Roblox and every other platform that exists out there. That's never going to happen, and I think there's a precedence for that. So to answer your question, I think the parallels are almost exactly the same thing. And right now we're going through the growing pains of this really cool technology that is not available for the masses because there's just too much friction. It's too hard. Like Sinful. Imagine if I called you up and I'm like, hey, I got this really cool experience in Roblox. And you're like, well, I've never been to Roblox. So now you have to, go to
Mm-hmm.
Roblox, download it, create an account, create an avatar, and then learn the whole UX and then figure out how to find my single experience. That would be miserable, right? But with the web, you don't need to do that. You open up a browser, you open up an app, you just go right there and everyone can connect. And it's super, super easy. And so I think that's as you say, the parallels couldn't be more exact. And I think we're about to solve that with these new standards, which is really going to bring us all together, which is really what the metaverse is supposed to be. It's not to, it's to unify us, not to separate us in these small experiences.
Most definitely. And so we have a question from our audience here from Old Guy,
Okay.
and he's heard you speak a few times at the
I know,
CBD
old guy.
spaces
Yeah,
as well.
old guy's another old guy. I love it. He's makes me feel at home.
So his question is, how long do you believe before adoption of Web3, and how long And how long it will before that happens? Oh, how long will it be till that happens? Yeah.
So when you say Web3, and again, I want to just make sure I answer the question because I think Web3 is used in so many different ways. So Web3 could be as the idea of the metaverse, right? And then Web3 can be just decentralized like Bitcoin or NFTs or all that kind of stuff. So maybe old man, if you can clarify, because I want to make sure I answer your question really directly because it can mean a lot of things to different people. Even though I look at Web3 as more of like the NFT and kind of the Bitcoin and all that type of stuff thing. But if you have any clarification, I'm happy to go in a little bit deeper. But to me, if you're talking about the Web3, the NFTs and whatnot, right now you need these open ecosystems to be able to usher in these types of technologies that everyone can use across every location, right? Because you're not going to force Web3 technology into Roblox or into any other platform. But if you have an open ecosystem where people can decide to adopt these Web3 technologies on their own 3D website, that's what's going to enable this to be interoperable and work across all experiences. And so it's not the job of the metaverse to force Web3 on everyone. Web3 becomes a choice you can make with your own experience. So if I'm Walmart and I have 10,000 locations and I want to use Web3 like technologies, I should be able to do that. If I'm going to build, if I'm having a community of 10,000 locations like Decentraland and they want to have their own tokenomics or something like that, they should be able to allow to do that. And no one should be able to tell them what they can or cannot do. But that doesn't mean that your token will work across every single location all over the metaverse, right? So it should be an open ecosystem where people can adopt those types of currencies or things to accomplish what they're doing within their own communities. And so these open standards will make that all possible across every experience.
So before we go a little further into like standards, could you give us the kind of like a rundown of what the metaverse standard form is?
Yeah, the Metaverse Standards Forum was created a couple years ago by Neil Trevitt. He's a VP over at NVIDIA, and he's also the founder and president of the Kronos Group, which is the largest standards group around 3D assets like GLTF and Vulkan and a whole bunch of other really amazing technologies that are being used on the web daily, right? And when he created the Metaverse Standards Forum, it was to really unify people around that term. And the reason why you create standard organizations is to have a conversation, have shared resources, and creating things that everyone can use. And so the Metaverse Standards Forum is funny enough, is actually not a standards organization. It's actually a forum that brings standard organizations together to help solve for the metaverse. And so when we were building out our prototype, we knew that we couldn't own this technology. We had to build an open engine that is not controlled. And in fact, just to give you a little kind of tidbit, and this might be going a little technical, but if you look at the current web browser like Chrome and Safari, they're all built on open engines. The Chrome is Blink is the engine for Chrome, and WebKit is what is under Safari. And these are open engines. In fact, if any of you own like a Quest 3, which I'm sure you have, like a Quest 3, like from Meta, they have the MetaQuest browser. And guess what? It's built on Chromium and Blink. So they just take those open engine standards, they create their own white label and browser, and boom, they can now read and see websites and render websites just like Chrome and Safari can, right? And so that's why you need these open source engines. And so we're creating under the Metaverse Standards Forum, which we just launched. It's called OMBI, which is the Open Metaverse Browser Initiative, and we're actually creating something called Sneeze, which I think is kind of funny. It's an homage to the term Blink, which is the engine under Chromium. Blink, sneeze, you get it, kind of laugh, cough, whatever you want to use. But we use Sneeze, and it's an open source engine that is being built in the open under the Metaverse Standards Forum that anyone can participate and be a part of. And so that's all being done today. And what it solves what WebXR can't do for the web. And there's a handful of things which we can get into on what limits WebXR and why we're actually building a new engine to solve for the open metaverse.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have a follow-up from old guy. He said that he was talking about what you are talking about, full adoption of the metaverse.
Oh,
So
for Web3? Yeah, yeah, you're spot on, old guy. And I think the reason why a lot of Web3 has not been adopted is that, if it doesn't work across, or wall garden, platforms don't want to use them, if it's not interoperable and it can't work across all experiences, it's really hard to build out and spread amongst things. And it has to be easy to use. And so there's a lot of challenges that still need to be solved within Web3. You don't want the big gas fees. It has to be seamless. When we're not talking about how it works, then Web3 is going to be awesome, right? If it's as simple as me just handing you a hat and I give you a payment and I go on my merry way, that's when Web3 is going to be awesome. And I still think there is, a handful of things that need to be solved, and I don't want to go too deep in Web3, but I think there is definitely a use case, and I think there's ways to help also protect creators in building cool stuff. And actually, it's kind of like imagine if I had a sports card, like collector's cards, like Pokemon cards, all this kind of stuff. How do I know I have a real one, right? And I think there's definitely use for Web3 type technologies where creators can create things and know that you have something that's authentic. And I think that's where these technologies can be awesome. But until these big platforms adopt them, they don't get used. But with the open standards, no one can stop you from using them. And I think that's where it's going to be really powerful.
And I like what you mentioned, kind of like what I got. In order for the world to adopt all of this, we need to put a cover over the whole sign transactions, gas fee aspect of it all the technical side, where someone may be like, oh, I don't know if I should sign this wallet or sign this contract here.
If your grandma cannot use it to go buy something really fast, then it's too hard. I mean, it's all the early adopters will use it, and everyone will understand the benefit. But until it's seamless, then it can't grow to the masses. And there's lots of amazing companies that are solving those problems to make it super seamless. And I think we're just in the earlier stages of Web3, and as those are being solved, and as you get the open ecosystems that we're talking about, these are all going to come together to really create, not only just an open metaverse, but an open metaverse where payments and solutions are really free to choose from.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have a question from our good pal One Exist. He's saying, I was trying to get Artemis, but he got stopped at the part where he may need a domain. He's asking if he could use a .eth domain. He just
Yeah.
wants to set it up and play around and create things.
Well, we haven't got to Artemis yet, but that's a great question. But for everyone that doesn't know what Artemis is, so RP1 is also building the first native browser using the open source engine at the Metaverse Standards Forum, Sneeze. And so Artemis is literally the first native metaverse browser that is using Sneeze, where people can build their own 3D websites, which is called a spatial fabric. And anyone that downloads and installs Artemis can easily connect to any person's 3D space. And that person that owns that 3D space, they have full ownership and full choice, just like owning and running your website. It's exactly like the web ecosystem, but now you get to own your own 3D space. You don't have to worry about how you render it. You don't have to worry about the networking and all the layers. You just build your 3D site. You can put whatever assets you want in there, and people can seamlessly go there using a native metaverse browser. And eventually Sneeze will be incorporated into web browsers where they can also go to your location as well seamlessly through any web browser. And so that's the goal. We're just in the early days. But yeah, Artemis, to answer your question, you can get any .com or any extension. It doesn't matter what your URL is. And you can build your own 3D space, and people then can download Artemis and go to your space. The things that are missing right now, because it is an early alpha, is you don't have avatars. We don't have identity solved. We don't have VPS, so it doesn't know where you're at in the real world. That's all being built as we speak, and the graphics are being worked on by some major companies to bring in a true full-on native rendering. So we're talking about gorgeous graphics that stream in real time from any 3D website. It's going to be pretty spectacular.
All right, so you can use an ENS for your domain on Artemis.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's not on Artemis. But so I want to distinguish,
Yes.
just even that using the language, you don't build on Chrome, you don't build on Safari. So the job of Chrome is when someone says, I want to go to Nike.com, it goes ahead and fetches those websites and displays them and renders them for you. The same thing with metaverse browsers is you own and operate your own location. It's not controlled by any company. If Artemis goes away and there's another company that uses Sneeze as an open browser, your 3D website will still be able to be found and interacted with. And so there's no control or ownership ownership by Artemis or by Sneeze whatsoever. This is truly replicating the exact same ecosystem that we've used for the last couple of decades around websites. It just makes it, the handful of things, if you want to be specific, is that it handles the native rendering. And when I say native rendering, you're not rendering inside of WebXR. And WebXR is limited by how much memory and triangles, where when you have a native renderer, you get access to the local resources of the device, which means the graphics are going to be much higher level, much closer to like Unity and like Unreal level type graphics that are all streaming in real time with no installs whatsoever. So there's literally no friction. You don't download apps. People don't have to download your space and wait for it to load. They just go to your URL and instantly I can start talking and interacting with you in your space with anyone. Or you may have it locked where people can't join, or it's like your own website. You control who has access, who's allowed to go there, what they see, what software exists on there, and no one has to
Mhm.
install anything. It just works. It's pretty neat.
Thank you for the clarification. And then Rustan says, I feel like Sean needs to connect with Jin from M3 Metaverse Makers, if you haven't
Russ,
already.
Well, Rostan, you're awesome, and I remember you from the Sunday days on at Decentraland talks on Twitter. And Jin is awesome. I mean, he's definitely a pioneer. We spoke to Jin, I think, early when we were figuring this stuff out. I don't think he has an update on what we're doing today. But man, not only is Jin, but anyone is welcome to join this. Again, this is not we're not building a wall garden platform. We're not building a company. These are truly open standards that we're inviting anyone, and you can join the Metaverse Standards Forum. You can go to rp1.com's, Discord. But this is the opportunity where anyone can, kind of bring code or engineering time to help make these standards. This is being built in the open. In fact, we had one huge announcement. The University of Rochester created the Open Metaverse Academic Alliance. We have over 40 universities already signed up, and we should have a couple hundred over the next 6 to 9 months that are all going to be contributing to these new open standards for the entire evolution of the web. And so this is being built by everyone, but Jin is awesome. So thanks for pointing him out. He's great. I think he's a pioneer and has been thinking about this stuff for as long as I have. And obviously, we would love his participation and help. And so happy to have him, join the project.
Yeah, maybe that's just like the idea bubble to come up and be like, maybe I should reconnect with them, see what's up.
Definitely. I'll definitely have to say, you know what? I'm 100% going to send him a note after this because it's been a while since we've chatted.
Yes, let's go. Kind of like taking a few steps back because we kind of jumped into Artemis.
Yes.
You often say that you are building all of this out in the open. What does open actually mean in the context of RP1 and the work that you do within the Metaverse Standard Forum?
Yeah, that's a great question. So RP1, since we've architected and we understand the challenges of WebXR and why we need a native engine and how we're building all these components, we are taking our expertise, some of the things that we've solved for the web, and we're basically giving that time to the Metaverse Standards Forum. And so we're kind of, like I said before, we're wearing kind of two hats. And so the stuff that we're building under Sneeze, which is this open engine that anyone can use, including any device, any company, any individual can take this open engine and build their own browser if they wanted to, and using this technology. And so that's all being built in the open in GitHub. The source control is there, the source code, excuse me, is all there. Anyone can contribute to it. You can join the Metaverse Standards Forum to be a part of, having conversations about the different components like avatars or identity or VPS, all these different things that Sneeze is solving for. And so anyone can come in and participate, bring value, and if it makes sense for the architecture, it gets added. And so it's not like we're building it, telling everyone exactly how it needs to go. But I think we've done a lot of the hard work to jumpstart what that looks like, because it's hard to go from 0 to 1 with a lot of people contributing, because everyone's going to have different ideas on how technically things work, because this is really heavy technical stuff. You're talking about building console windows, dealing with multi-origin, and how do you bring multiple services that are all over the world under one massive security umbrella. And it's as complicated, if not more, than the current web browser. And so we're solving the really, really hard problems. But you'll be able to see all of this in the open. So you can go to GitHub now and actually see the code of Sneeze and see everything that's being built, day by day.
Love it. I love it. Let's see. Old guy. I think it may be a follow-up, and I may need more context. Is RP1 partnering up with others to solve issues they have?
So RP1, we've solved, and I mentioned this earlier, we solved the problem of scale. And so when you build your 3D website, how do you make it easy? There's actually a couple of problems that we solved. One is eventually there's going to be hundreds of thousands of 3D websites. So how do you bring all of those together in a single map? And so RP1 has created a map system that can link all the different locations together. Think of it kind of like what ICANN does for the entire World Wide Web. So ICANN kind of helps manage .coms and .nets and .ai and all these URLs. So that if you have a URL, it all works in DNS. It can all be resolved and people can find your location. Well, now we're talking about spaces. So imagine if you're wearing AR glasses and I'm walking down the street and there's Chase Bank and then there's old guy's house and then there's Walmart. How do my glasses connected to a browser know that there's different spatial fabrics around me, different 3D websites that are owned and operated by these different people and connect me, allow me to spatially browse those locations? That's really hard to do, and the web wasn't designed for this. And so we have built that technology, and so we're helping bring technology that typically would cost 1,000 times more, but because how we solved it in software, it's going to be close to the cost of running websites. And so we're going to help democratize. There's a reason why these platforms exist, because as soon as someone's like, well, I want to connect 500 people, and they're like, wait a minute, I got to pay $300 a month and build out my own servers or connect to a third party software, it becomes really expensive. That's why it's hard for lots of people to adopt. And they're reliant on alt spaces or Robloxes because they provide that networking. And but guess what? You give up. You give up 90% of your revenue. You give up your data. You give up all the items you build. You don't have control the avatar systems. And so, with the RP1's technology, we're hopeful that it will democratize building out all these 3D websites. But the cool thing is, you're not locked into RP1. Sinful, if you were to solve it 1,000 times better than we've solved it, you can go sell your services and people can pick and choose the services they want to use from any company in the world. We just happen to have technology that we believe people would need and want and appreciate that we're bringing to the table. And so that's in conjunction with the open standards that we're building out of the Metaverse Standards Forum.
Thank you, thank you. And so then we have a question from Felons. He said, starts with, "Hey Sean, it's been a minute. I hopped in and out of RP1 over the last few years, and I'm stoked to see RP1 has progressed so much. He's curious about rendering of metaverse sites. Are there standards for importing from Blender and or Unity, Unreal Engine, etc.?"
That is an awesome question. And so we are actually solving the problem that your question indirectly is asking. So you're like, hey, there is all these different kind of monolithic gaming engines, and will I be able to bring those together or take stuff out of it and bring it to the open standards? And the answer is yes. That's why we're developing what we're developing. Because the problem is, if you're a Unity developer, that means your stuff doesn't work in Unreal. And if you build something in Blender, it doesn't necessarily work across. And so we want to build, and it's not inventing everything from the ground up. We're using GLTF, we're using GLBs, we're using USD. Like, all these open standards exist today can contribute to building your 3D website. The only difference is that it all streams in real time. So you can't bring like 5 gigabytes of data and make someone download all 5 gigabytes before they can even enter your space. It all has to happen in real time. So when I go to your spatial fabric, your house, let's say you build a digital twin with it could be with Gaussian splats or 3D scenes or however you want to build it out. When I go there, I shouldn't have to download the entire house and the backyard and everywhere. I just need to stream what's in front of me and around me. And as I move around, it pulls in that data. And so the answer to your question is it's all being on open source tools where anyone can become the WordPress of these open standards. And that includes having tools that convert things from Unity or Blender to work with streamable assets. Streamability is the most important thing. Everything has to stream in bite size for this to all work and be seamless. And so the goal is, and the cool thing is, if we don't do it, you can. Like, anyone can build these tools. So you're no longer stuck under one company that dictates the tools that you use. And if you don't have features, well, too bad. This is an open ecosystem, just like web tools, where anyone, you think about the thousands upon thousands of web tools that exist in building web infrastructure. The same is now going to happen with these new standards, where you're no longer stuck in a monolithic gaming engine. You can actually build, and you no longer have to worry about the hard programming. The job of the browser is actually to be the renderer. So you just build the 3D space, just like when you build a website, you don't know how to render it. You don't know have to worry about like what happens. You just build 3D websites, and the browser comes along and displays it for anyone in the world. The same will be true with the native metaverse browser or any browser that uses the Sneeze engine. It has a native renderer built in. And so to be more technical, because some people are technical on this, we're actually using Anari, which is an API for renderers. So that means if let's say Chrome wants to build using Sneeze, they can pick a different renderer, but Anari will force it to work across all spatial fabrics. So that means when you build your 3D website, it will work across anyone using the Sneeze engine, which is the most important thing in standards. And so that you don't have to worry about you build and it's not compatible. Let's say like if you built a website and it doesn't work with 3 out of the 4 browsers, that would suck. It wouldn't really be the World Wide Web it is today. And so that's why you have to build these types of standards to make sure when someone builds a 3D website, it will work across all gaming engines that use the open standard Sneeze.
Thank you, thank you. Creator thing. Looks like I have another question from One Exist. Do I need a domain in order to use the Artemis creator thing? I've downloaded it and some other stuff, but stopped there. Is .eth domain okay? I think this may be
An old question. Yeah. You could build, you have to have your own web server. So it's no different than building, we call it a metaverse server, but it's just like having your own web server. Eventually there'll be lots of third-party companies that you can host your own 3D website on, right? Or you have to do it on your own web server. So there's a massive opportunity for people to sell services and things just like they did for the web. But yeah, you would have to build your own, web server, and you would build your own 3D space, and you'd have to have your own URL so that the browser knows where to find that. At some point, you're going to point your 3D space at what's called a universal map system. And RP1 will be providing one of those where we have a digital twin of the entire universe, one-to-one scale. It's unbelievable. In fact, you can see that in our WebXR demo, but you literally can walk across spatial fabrics. You can go up to space, and anyone can attach anywhere. Well, I shouldn't say anywhere. The digital twin of planet Earth is reserved for people that actually own the space in the real world. So your house or Walmart's location or Chase Bank, they automatically have rights to that XYZ coordinate space on planet Earth. And if you want to build something that has nothing to do with Earth, there's unlimited space outside of our solar system where you could build whatever you want, including things like Star Wars Galaxy one-to-one scale. And the cool thing is when you're in our map, you can have one avatar that seamlessly walks across all locations, whether you're walking in the real world or you want to go to some really cool virtual space or a made-up space that people build, but you can seamlessly go anywhere from any device. It's pretty crazy. And that's what we showcase in our WebXR demo. That's what made people, their jaw drop. They're like, how is this possible? You have 100,000 users on 30 computers roaming around an endless map, owned and operated by different people. It was just mind blowing. So that's what helped us build all these standards that we're bringing into the Metaverse Standards Forum.
Okay, so kind of a follow-up question a personal follow-up question from me.
Go for it.
You've mentioned that you need to set up a web server. Would this mean like kind of like, for example, I use the server provider Hetzner, or others use Supabase, kind of like set up one of these dedicated servers that to house like an IP or your web, like for example, I house my website on my Hetzner server. Sort of like have one of those boxes, and you'll be able to link it up with Artemis.
Exactly. It's just like how you would manage a website. You know what I mean? So you can have third-party companies that either provide a server. Obviously, you can use like Linux or you can use Windows. There's a whole bunch of things that you can use, and then you'd pick and choose the software that you want to use. But you're just managing. I mean, spatial fabric is really, it's not that fancy. I mean, a spatial fabric is a fancy term for the evolution of websites. So instead of calling it a website, you call it a spatial fabric. And your fabric is your 3D website. And really all it is a map where you can put 3D assets. And here's the one thing we haven't talked about, and this is what's going to make everyone drool. And at least from me as a gamer and just someone from a technology standpoint, you can bring any piece of software, real time or not, owned and operated by anyone in the world from any server, drop it anywhere on the location of that map, and you can instantly connect to it from any device, anybody. So imagine like you and I are chilling right now in a space, and we're like, we want to play chess. You can literally go out to an open marketplace, grab a chessboard, put it right in between us, and you and I can just start playing chess and don't have to install anything. It just works. Like if I were to go into an airport and there's an AI or a robot that I need to control, I would just instantly be able to control it because it's just a service, which is real software that just is spatially aware that I can connect to without having to install anything. The browser removes the entire friction of any experience where I can just stream the assets. I can connect to any service that's located in that space, and anyone from any device, whether it's mobile, desktop, VR, or even the future of AR glasses, can instantly connect with each other seamlessly. Everyone just connects to the browser. It's no different like if all of us want to be on a chat room or on this Twitter space or on Twitch, we don't have to install anything. We just go to the location, and guess what? All of us are here together talking, interacting, and chatting. And the web makes that possible. And what we're building makes it possible in 3D spaces with real software. And that's the magical stuff. This is when the metaverse becomes interactive and you can bring in AI, you can drop in any software built by anyone with security better than how the current web works. It's pretty nuts. I mean, this is a very, very big project. I mean, it's hard because I'm here. It's hard for me to even say that. Like here I am, building out the standards for the internet, talking about the future of how all of us come together as if like it was back in the day when I built, someone built the first web browser saying, don't worry, everyone's gonna be building these things called websites and we're all gonna connect to each other no matter where you're at in the world. You would laugh at me, but we're at that moment right now. We're actually building these standards in the open to make this all finally possible. It's the big vision, right?
Hmm. So let's see. One exists said, "How much are those?" Supabase. I believe you could use Supabase, limited version of Supabase for free until you get to a subscription. And then, as Rustan mentioned, one exists. I think $14. You can get the low tier Hetzner server for a month. So $14 a month, or
Yeah,
unless you have some solutions that may be good.
there's some free services out there that allow you to build a web server with minimal traffic. You know what I mean? And their goal is as you get more traffic, you're going to eventually buy some of their services. So I think they exist all over. You can just Google them. There's plenty of companies. And so, yes, it's going to cost something, but who knows? There may be companies that come in and help you host, and you can build communities like Decentraland, right? So Decentraland literally could convert to using these open spatial fabrics. And, Decentraland could say, here's a planet outside of our solar system called Decentraland. And here is all of the XYZ coordinate spaces, and people can have spatial fabrics. But the cool thing is your avatar can go from your fictitious spatial fabric on Decentraland and seamlessly now go to Walmart or to Microsoft's office because you work there or wherever it is. You seamlessly can go anywhere, and that's the whole point of having the idea of the World Wide Web, is that I'm not restricted just to a game or just to the real world. It connects all of those pieces. And so, there is some minor fees, but then, you own your data. You control everything that you do, and it's seamless for anyone to go there. And so eventually I believe everyone will adopt, but I think those costs will come down. I mean, that's the whole reason why RP1 is bringing those services, is to make it as close to running and operating a website for 3D spaces, which without RP1's technology, it would be so expensive that people wouldn't be able to build their own spatial fabrics. And so that's where I think we help democratize making that possible for everybody.
Love it. I love it. All right, just looking around the room, making sure everyone. Oh, there's Forensics. Hello, Forensics. Welcome, welcome. We always have friends popping in and out as the show goes along, and
I
I
love
see Stephen YY has joined us here too. Yeah, it's been a great show tonight. I love seeing all the questions come in from the audience, and let me
So,
even. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I got something cool to share. So if you think about it right now, and I'm sure people have seen in the news, but you have about 8 to 9 major companies, some of the biggest tech companies in the world, that are racing to build commercially viable AR glasses.
Mm-hmm.
And these AR glasses, and the reason why everyone is doing this is because it truly can replace cell phones. And so I remember back in the day when cell phones started coming out, and people are like, I would never carry a cell phone. That's the dumbest idea in the world. We got all these landlines. I don't need to have a cell phone in my pocket. And then the cell phones were way too big. They were stuck to cars, or they were ginormous to put next to your ear, or they cost, like the cost of a car. And everyone was like, this is ridiculous. But eventually they got so small and every single person walked around with cell phones. I want you to think about when you walk around the real world, imagine you put on AR glasses. And let's say, Sinful, wherever you're in Florida or wherever it is, and you open up your laptop or throw a VR headset on and you join me in the real world. And I just instantly see you right in front of me. And I'm like, hey, Sinful, come with me. We're going to go into the museum, or I got to go into this meeting. Why don't you come with me? And we're just talking as freely as if you're joining me in the real world. That is going to be the next level of us communicating. It's going to be as if you were right next to me, as close to reality as possible. That's the promise of the metaverse. The web brought us together in web pages, in chat rooms, in flat screens. The metaverse brings us together as if you're physically actually there with me, whether it's family or work or play, it doesn't matter, right? And
Mhm.
so these AR glasses, if you think about it, when you hold up your phone with your 4 to 6 inch screen, it's kind of hard to look around you, right? But when you put on AR glasses that just see the world in front of you and people can join you, there's things to connect with and interact with. In fact, this would be a good time to actually show the video. If you can show the video,
Yeah,
you can.
we can do
I'll
that.
show you what the future of AR glasses is going to look like, and people are going to be able to build virtual spaces that will connect with the real world. This is the dream of the metaverse. And so, what show the video
Hmm.
that I sent you. I sent you the YouTube link. Remember, in Discord.
Yep, I have it right
That,
here.
that yeah.
So I'll just we'll go on mute and we'll play the video.
Audio, so we can talk over it.
Oh, okay, okay, cool.
Yeah. So I would actually go a little bit fast forward. Go about probably like about a half a minute. It's right when you start seeing the people walk around. Well, it'll catch up. It's not that far. Hold on. It's only, I think it's a 2 minute video at all, so
Yeah.
it's not that bad. That's just showing open tooling, and everyone can build and host their own data and control everything that you want, including your revenue. You're no longer, there's no landlord anymore, right? You can publish 3D content like the web. So that means anyone can put 3D content on your
Oh,
own space, and instantly it'll work for everybody. But here's the picture right here. This is what
yeah.
I think. So imagine you're walking in a mall, and instantly you can connect to different things, or people call you and they can join you in the real world. And imagine now I'm walking around like a university, and all of a sudden there's these things around me that I can connect to, whether it's menu systems or advertising or things that, and this is owned and operated by the university. And I'd be able to connect with students and join in classrooms. But the cool thing of what the metaverse browser does, which is not possible with the current web, is why we're building Sneeze, is that you have spatial fabrics around you. So you have the restaurant on the left, you have navigational software,
Yeah.
you have this Uber. These all coexist in the same scene that you're looking at through your AR glasses, and it makes it super easy to pick and choose the things that you want to interact with. And so this works not only in just walking around the real world, but also works in companies like enterprises. So you're going to build software that manage your robots and warehousing software. Imagine you have all these different pieces of software that exist, and with your AR glasses, you'll just see it naturally. You'll know where not to walk for safety reasons, or someone from the real world can join you in the warehouse and say, "Oh, you should move this or there," even though they're not there.
Hmm.
And so it's a way to connect. And this is the killer right here, is the co-presence. So the person in the middle, the young boy, he's coming in VR and he's seeing a digital twin of the house. And you're seeing just him in your AR glasses, and you're instantly able to have a conversation. And imagine me grabbing a chessboard built by you. Sinful, you have a chess game logic on your server, and I drop it right on the table and we can all just start playing. It makes it seamless for us to all connect in this massive co-presence. It's pretty badass. I mean, this is really what the cool future is going to bring. Not the avatars and things that we've seen in some of these closed platforms that just
Hmm.
couldn't get to this big dream and vision.
So yes, I've definitely noticed that there are companies that are pivoting to AR glasses. One that I can think of specifically is Snap, the
Yep.
creators of Snapchat. They they have done a full, I believe, from what I read at least, it hinted at a full pivot to AR glasses. That's going to be their focus here. And of course, we have Meta with the Ray Bans, and they seem to be doing great. So, like, this is like I almost said this is a far out future, but How far out do you think we are to
Oh,
kind of having
we're
these
t-
experiences?
we're talking about in a year or two. I mean, this is happening really, really fast. And so let me clarify. So the Snap Specs are one of the first kind of standalone AR glasses, which means you don't need to connect it to a computer. You don't need to connect it to a puck. They're literally like a mobile phone. Like it's just a mobile phone that you have. You just put on your face. The smart glasses by Meta don't have the same feature sets. They don't have the
Mhm.
full 6 DoF. They don't have the full computing in the actual glasses. They're much lightweight. It's more for just having an app or two and just a couple of audio and take some pictures and video or whatnot. But the true AR glasses is really what Snap Spec. But Meta does have
I
their
see.
version, which is called Project Orion, which you guys can, I'm sure you've heard about or you can look up. And Apple is, they announced that they're building their version. You have Samsung that's coming out. You have Pico. You have
Really?
lots and lots of companies because they know it can replace the iPhone. And that's why Apple has to build this because 80% of their revenue is all from generated from the iPhone. And so if these are going to be the next mobile device that replace mobile phones, that's why you see so many companies spending billions of dollars to get it right, to get it into a small form factor, to make it seamless to work. And here's the challenge, and this is why what we're building is so important, is imagine you buy Snap Specs, and let's say old guy buys the Apple version when it comes out, and One Existence buys the Meta version, and everyone has their different versions. Well, how do you communicate with each other? How do you build software that works across all of those devices? And the answer is without these open standards that we're talking about and the Sneeze project and the future of 3D spatial websites, that you can't bring these devices together. They're going to be in all like standalone places. They're going to be friction, and it's going to be really hard. And you're going to have companies that control the entire experience. They control the AI that you're going to interact with. With this open browser engine, you get to pick and choose the device you want to use. It's no different than, let's say, and I'll give you a great example. Right now, if iPhones were to disappear, an airport wouldn't shut down. You have other mobile devices, you have other devices that run that airport. It is not predicated on one device.
Hmm.
But imagine if an airport bought a standalone walled garden, glasses from one company. There's no way they're going to do that because if also, let's say they bought Snap Specs for all their employees, and all of a sudden Snap said, you know what, we're going to go back to social media. We're not down with the air glasses anymore. What do you think the airport's going to shut down? So you need these open standards for the world to adopt these technologies. It's like a cart before the horse. If you don't have the open standards, how do people adopt them and not have to worry that all of these disappear? And so eventually, every company is going to build spatial infrastructure. You need the standards that bring all these devices together, and everyone wins together. And so that's why this is such a massive project because, and it's not just for AR glasses. I
Massive.
mean, obviously, the browser works across all devices, but I think AR glasses is truly what needs spatial browsing. So if I'm walking around, I can connect to all the really cool experiences, or you can join me instantly in my house and be able to watch TV or interact with me in a museum or something with no friction whatsoever. And I think that's going to be the magical experience that everyone's like, I get it. This is why we need a metaverse browser. This
Hmm.
brings the world together in full reality.
So I know I've heard you speak about smart cities, robotics, kind
Mhm.
of all this future technology. Are you would you say that AR glasses are going to play a huge role in kind of adopting smart cities, or will there be? Do you think there will be like some there's some other technology out there that is being developed in order to kind
Yep.
of like accommodate for smart cities and all that comes with it.
Yeah, I think what we're doing with these open standards unlock the idea of smart cities. And I'll give you an example. Imagine if I wanted you wanted home automation, and I came in and gave you automation, but it only works for your kitchen. And you're like, oh, well, I have to go to a whole different company to manage my bedroom and my bathrooms and all these other areas, and nothing works with each other or something like that. So if you're going to eventually build a smart city or you're going to start using robotics, they need spatial awareness. They need to know where they're at in the real world. And so you have to build out these 3D maps. So you have companies like Niantic, you have companies like Cesium. There's all these really big companies that help you manage these maps. But some of them are walled garden. Some of them you have to put that map data inside their servers, which a lot of companies are not going to want to do. They're going to want to own their own maps, their own data. So you go there. And so the browser itself makes that seamless to give ownership of that map data to you as the homeowner or to you as, you own Walmart. They have to have ownership to adopt these technologies. And to answer your question directly, I think AR is really the perfect device to access the real world. And so, like, I'll give you an example. I'll walk you through like how Disney would create 3D websites. So imagine I go to Disneyland. I'm sure most people have been to Disneyland one time or another. So Disneyland, what they'll do is they'll create a digital twin of their entire theme park. Let's call the one in in Anaheim. And that digital twin, they'll own all the maps. It'll sit on their servers. They're going to pick and choose all the software that they want people to interact with. And you, as an employee, you would have your AR glasses and you'd show up to work. And as soon as you walk near the XYZ coordinate space, exactly where it is, because the browser will know where you're at in the real world, it will connect you to Disney's spatial fabric. And as long as I have credentials as an employee, I will get access to the services that they allow me to get access to. And so let's say if I'm fixing a ride that just went down, you're going to have a service that's built by some company that will help you manage fixing and making sure you do all the right check systems to make sure the ride is ready to go and turn back on or something. There's going to be a service that helps you make churros properly, to make the perfect churros, because in Disneyland, everything's got to be perfect. You're going to have AI that's going to help navigate Mickey Mouse so he goes to the right standing areas to greet people for 5 minutes and move to the next station. You're going to have all this software just makes it easy to navigate what you're doing. But then you as a consumer, you're going to come in just with any AR glasses or mobile device. You're going to connect through the browser. The browser will know you're at Disneyland, just like, but instead of typing in Disneyland.com, it knows you're there because you're standing a foot away from the actual land that they own and they manage. And guess what? I can have Darth Vader greet me and say, "Welcome to Disneyland. Let me take you on, to space stores, and I'll show you how to get there." Or I'll be like, "Hey, where's the bathroom, Darth Vader?" Or Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse or whatever character that they allow me to use, and it's going to help me navigate the real Disneyland space. And then here's even crazier. Disneyland is going to say, well, I want to build Star Wars Galaxy one-to-one scale. I'm talking about every planet in Star Wars, every location. And they can run that on their own servers, just like they do their website. And I can literally pick any device and go to that location. And instantly I can be with hundreds, if not millions of people roaming around the entire Star Wars galaxy. And I have to be just one person. When I open up the web browser, I don't have to change my identity. I can go to any website I want without having to worry about that my identity works. The same will be true for the metaverse. I can create one avatar, one identity, and go across all these experiences, whether in the real world or virtually. It's going to be unbelievable. Like I can't describe how awesome this is going to be. Take every experience that all of us have seen thus far and put it in one big open ecosystem. It's going to be nuts. And I think that's the fun part about this. And I think AR glasses are going to play a really big role in connecting virtual spaces or people that are stuck at home or in different countries. Anyone will be able to join anywhere, anyone, anytime in the real world by just connecting to a browser from any device. To me, that is what's going to make this seamless and everyone can start adopting these technologies. That's going to be the moment we all win together, basically.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to it. So, in other words, out of this whole topic, what I'm getting out of it is, don't sleep on the AR glasses.
Oh no, I promise you the air glasses are 100% going to be a thing. It's going to be awesome. I mean, AR glasses, I kid you not, they're going to be eventually small, lightweight, and you just literally, just like when you take the phone, like someone's calling you, you pick the phone out of your pocket and you bring it up to your ear, or you have your earbuds in or something like that. You're gonna have your glasses in your pocket. You're just gonna pop them right on. I'm like, "Oh, what's up, Sinful? How's it going?" And you're like, "My man, Sean, how's it going?" And then we're like, "Hey, I'm headed over to get a bite to eat. You want to join me?" And you're like, "Sure, I got nothing to do." And you're going to sit and walk with me and you're going to sit at the table that I'm at and I'm going to see you and I'm going to be eating real food. And you're going to be like, "Man, I want to show you this cool thing." You can show me things. You're going to be able to grab things like services or things that you want us to interact with. You're going to be able to go to classrooms and be there in the real world and people can be there. You're going to have classmates that are there virtually and you're there in the real world and we're all going to see each other and be able to learn stuff that the professor's talking about. I mean, this is going to do things that the web did for us on pages. And it's just going to be like so seamless. But AR glasses, 100% is going to replace, I believe, mobile phones at some point. I mean, it's
Hmm.
if you're walking around the real world, walking around with a 4-inch screen would be silly. You're going to laugh. You're going to be like, imagine trying to look up and down and left and right in this 4-inch screen where glasses just see everything. It's going to be a no-brainer, and I think people will eventually adopt them pretty darn easily.
Well, okay, it makes me and I'm gonna throw in a bad joke in there maybe, um, that the next iteration of technology when it comes to cell phones or devices related like cell phones would be AR glasses. Kind of makes me feel better because normally I like to joke around and say, well, once we don't need the cell phones anymore, they're just going to implant microchips into us. So
Right.
so I'm happy that there is a buffer in between before major
Implants
surgery.
before implants. They were talking about, funny enough, Sinful, they were talking about contact lenses. And there are
Mm.
actually workable prototypes where you can put a contact lens in and it will give you computing that you can see through the contact lens. And there's lots of different technologies that are being, sought after to make it super easy, including implants that I'm sure Elon Musk has talked about in public, where people that, didn't have the ability to speak or do certain things, it really gave them certain things. But yeah, I think AR glasses is definitely a better step than having to implant something in our heads. I agree with you 100% on that one.
So, a question from old guy in the crowd. Do you? Oh wait, we will. Do you think we will ever have ownership of our identities on owned servers? When you say,
Yes, that's the
go
that's
ahead.
the whole purpose of this project. The identity will be built into Sneeze, where you can create your own identity. You manage it and own it yourself. I'm sure there'll be Web3 competing technologies that enable you to manage your identity, and there'll be a standard that works with browsers. And you create your identity, and you can walk across all these different spatial websites that are built by anyone, including the real world. And so that's the whole purpose of this, is to solve the interoperability problem of moving from one platform to another. If it's all built into Sneeze and the actual 3D browser, the identity no longer becomes a problem. It's built in from the ground up to give you full ownership of your data. So you'll be able to walk around incognito where no one will know your name or your identity. And it's up to you if you want to share that information with people. No different when you walk into a supermarket, they don't know who you are or your name or anything unless you want to share that with them. You get to pick and choose the data that you share, no matter which place that you go to. You have full control. No different than when you open up a web browser, you can control who you give data to, who you interact with, and whatnot. The same will be true for the open metaverse and the new browser technologies.
Let's see. Oh, that's just Meg saying, fantastic combo, fam. Been on Twitch for most of it, and leaving Mew smoke signals. Oh, let's see if it's any important smoke signals here that I've been missing. uh, let's see. Let's see. It's loving smoke signals. Oh, wait. Let's see. Can we adapt in this format? Uh, um, so Make is asking in the Twitch chat, can we adopt a open DCL with this format? And also goes on to say that Lastrum would probably be a good fit to connect with, because Lastrum has been working on a browser version of Decentraland, and he's been just like pushing limits and putting in features that aren't even in the original Decentraland browser, or in the client. So in a way, like Decentraland like is an open protocol as well. Anyone could build on Decentraland, and anyone can build their own version on this of Decentraland. So I guess like I guess I'll let you answer that question, and then I have a follow up.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you, it's really hard because I'm a fan of Decentraland. I'm a fan of Roblox. I'm a fan of Meta Horizons. I think all of these companies created amazing platforms that really showcase a lot of cool stuff you can do. VR chat, alt space, all these places were badass. They had experiences where you can connect with the community. Because at the end of the day, erase technology, people just want to connect with each other. They want to find people that they enjoy being with and share technologies and experiences and make it seamless. When you're talking about solving for the entire world, I mean, wait, let's take this away. Not solving for Decentraland or the handful of people that are part of the Decentraland community. We're talking about the billions of people that connect using worldwide, the open, worldwide web infrastructure, right? And so we're solving this in a way that Decentraland could literally, and anybody, not just Decentraland, can go get their own planet with a massive amount of land and space, and they can give that and parse it out to as many people as they want, just like the Star Wars Galaxy thing. If Disney wanted to give people the ability to have a home or their own coordinate space in the Star Wars galaxy, you could get your own space. They will give you ownership however they want to do that. Because again, it's like your website. If I gave you a web page, how do I give you access? I would choose how that works. I can use Web3. I can pick and choose all the layers that make that possible. So Disney could literally give homes to every single person in the world to participate and have fun in the Disney community. Decentraland could do the same thing. Decentraland could have, they can map out the exact same space they have right now, create that with spatial fabrics and a huge map system, and everyone would move over to those XYZ coordinate spaces. They would use the open tooling that's built by anyone in the world. So you're no longer stuck in just tooling for Decentraland or just tooling for Blender or just tooling for Roblox. You would have open tooling that would work across all 3D spaces. And now you have the interoperability of a full open metaverse, the evolution of the entire World Wide Web. And it's important because that's not, again, we're not just solving for social, we're solving for Walmart, we're solving for Costco, we're solving for, when I walk into a Costco, their spatial fabric, I'm able to connect to AI to help me find the toilet paper and the eggs so I can get in and out as fast as possible, or have cool advertising that shows me these knives are sharper than anything else and I should buy them. Like, it's going to give me all the interactive things that I can interact with. But if you don't standardize how you build those things, then it's going to be really hard for people to go from one device to another and connect with each other. And so the answer is Decentraland easily could take their entire community, convert it over to an open map system using these new open technologies. And you can have rules. You can have your own rules. It's your own planet. You can do whatever you want with it. You control, there's no company that can tell you what you're allowed to do there. You can give access. People can control who has access in the different fabrics. You basically have all the rights, and Decentraland can manage that and sublease those spaces to everyone that will have their spaces. And you have now your Decentraland community. But the cool thing is, when I'm done hanging out with my boys and girls and everyone else in the Decentraland community, I can easily go to a meeting at Costco, or join my wife that's shopping at Walmart or something like that. Like, I'm not limited to just Decentraland. I can connect anywhere else seamlessly with my avatars, and I can have multiple avatars where I can change from different identities seamlessly from any device. So I don't have to worry about downloading 100 different apps and different platforms to make that all possible. That's the whole purpose of an open metaverse. Hopefully that answers that. I mean, it's not to get rid of them, it's to evolve them into an open ecosystem, basically.
Yeah. So let's say hypothetical, like, Decentraland watched this interview. They said, "Man, Sean's the man. I love what he's building. Let's get Decentraland into Artemis. I'm sorry. Well, into man, what was, Sneeze. There we go.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Well,
get Decentraland contributing into the metaverse, open metaverse form. What
yep. So
does it look like for them?
So right now, it wouldn't look like what they need. They need an avatar system to be built into Sneeze. They need the identity. They need the VPS. That needs to be completed. And that'll be, look, the browser has never been completed. It's always evolving over the last couple of decades, but it's going to be in a really good place probably in the next 6 to 9 months or so. And this is where you're going to have all the main feature sets. You're going to be able to create an avatar and seamlessly go to any 3D space built by anyone in the open metaverse. Decentraland would be able to go ahead and say, we want to create this massive map, a map that's ginormous, right? It could be identical to the Decentraland map today. And they can say, well, we already have a map of who owns those spaces and who doesn't own those spaces. And they can manage that. They can create their own user interface and all these things that help give people access and all that kind of stuff, gives them the same ownership. And they can charge if they wanted to. They can sublease it. They own that map. And that map would just be a part of a location that people can go to, just like I would go to, my location. If I just wanted to build a digital twin of my house, that would be Sean's location, right? Or if I just want to build an MMO or a game or a map of anything, I could build whatever I want because it's just a website. This would just be a massive map, a massive website that has unlimited 3D spaces, and the tooling would be the open tooling for the open metaverse. And so anyone would be able to convert. So I'm sure someone would build a conversion tool that would take your Decentraland space, convert it into something that streams really easily on spatial fabrics. And right away, you would have your ownership and access to that space, and anyone can come there with an avatar and instantly be a part of that. And so it would not be hard to do that. There would be obviously, Decentraland have spend some time to figure out how do you recreate kind of whatever ecosystem they want, whatever control, because Decentraland does to a degree have control, right? They control the tools, they control certain things within the community, right? And they could still do the same thing if they wanted to, even with these open standards, right? And it's up to you if you want to join that community. No different than I can join any forum on any website anywhere in the world, but I have to abide by their rules or I get kicked, right? Same thing would be with Decentraland. So Decentraland would be able to replicate their entire ecosystem, but it would be the world building tools, and you would be leap years ahead of what you could do inside of a Decentraland. And the community would be just as strong as the people that want to join Decentraland. No different than, like, I'm a Street Fighter fan. So if I join a Street Fighter community, it's only as strong as the people that love Street Fighter that want to join and talk to each other about a cool subject matter. Decentraland has its community of people that want to be together. They would just recreate that community with the same kind of experiences, with the same types of ownerships. And so it would be no different than what you're doing today, but 1,000 times better, because you're going to have way more tools and capabilities at all the locations that are seamless.
Mm-hmm. And so old guy has a question, and I think it would relate to my previous Decentraland question. Well, follow up for it. Um, he says, if all this is built, what would be the cost, or would it be free? So, like, let's put it in the Decentraland terms. If Decentraland were to build it all, getting ready to deploy, or would there be any costs associated besides the server costs?
So the answer is very minimal, because what RP1 is going to be providing is a universal map system that has an endless universe, right? So if Decentraland wanted to build their own spatial fabric that's massive, planet size, and they want to point it at a location inside of RP1, RP1 for a very small fee would provide the scaling technology necessary for to handle all the avatars, hundreds of thousands of people roaming around all the locations in Decentraland, or millions of people, however many people are in the community. And so those costs would be close to running the cost of a website. I mean, again, we're using 1,000 times less compute to handle the spatial audio and the six off. So it makes it really easy for Decentraland not to take on all those costs themselves, because I know that's got to be a challenge, right? I mean, someone's got to be flipping that bill to manage all the avatars and all the connectivity to all the different spaces. That would be at 1,000 times less compute, and you wouldn't be limited on the number of users in a single space, or the seamlessness of me walking from old guy's space to one existent to yours. I literally, you guys could be in adjoining locations, and I can wave over to you on your spatial fabric, but you own and manage all the assets. If you update a tree, it automatically updates for everyone, like in that space. Like, you manage that space completely. And again, that would be with open tooling. So the hard thing with Decentraland, and I know, because I've been a part of the community, is updating those tools is really hard. Like, who's going to pay for the engineers? They're going to create the tooling, and then people are like, "Well, I want this feature." And, well, okay, we'll just add it on the list of 1,000 things that everyone wants. With the open tooling of the open metaverse, you no longer have that problem. You could build whatever you want in your space in Decentraland, and you could bring in any software. That's the killer. Like, if you want to play a game of chess, or you want to name anything you want to do right now in the Decentraland space that I'm seeing right now, you could grab that built by anyone, drop it right on the floor, and we can all interact with it.
Mhm.
And it's that seamless. There's no more programming nightmares or figuring out how to make that all work, where you have to be, it's like no code heaven, because it just makes it seamless, just like, how you deal with websites and plugins and stuff. So that's the goal, is no code tools that just make it seamless to manage your space. So you don't need a huge programming background. You got Claude, for God's sakes. I mean,
Yes.
AI would just take care of it for you. This is no longer going to be a nightmare. And the cool thing is, if you learn how to build for Decentraland in the open metaverse, you could build stuff for Walmart or a digital twin of your house. Like, it doesn't, you can connect anywhere from any device, never having to build a different avatar if you don't want to. And to me, that is the idea of a truly open metaverse, is I can be Sean and I can go across all the locations and not worry about my stuff not working, when I go to each space. And that's the most important thing that we have to figure out. And by the way, creators should want that too, because if I create really cool t-shirts or cool watches or cool things that I want to sell, if it works across all locations, Roblox can't take 100% of my revenue or 99% of my revenue, or stop me from selling things or not creating avatars. It works across the open metaverse. So now all the creators can participate without a company saying you can't build. And that, to me, it gives the power to the entire community. That's why these things are needed, because without that, how do we make money? because the
Yes.
platforms are just going to take all the money, and that's why these standards need to be in place, so you have the freedom to build and be a part of an ecosystem that no one can take away. Just like you could build for the web, no one can take away your identity or how you move from one web page to another. You own that experience.
Yeah, so I'm happy you mentioned Claude and how the capabilities that we have here in 2026. And to tell you the truth, I could see this being kind of a project that one of our community members just you know takes helm for and just starts building Decentraland. Uh, so this is awesome. And so, hey guys, there's ideas. Here are ideas. I'm throwing them into the ether. Let's make it happen. And I was just Make was making a comment like, "Stop it, no code heaven." So I said to him that you're talking dirty to us because
Oh, I
make
got you.
it.
Listen, as technical as I sound, and I know a lot, but I'm not like if you're to tell me to go whip up a web server, not my jam. All right. I mean, I play games, but I'm not an engineer, right? And so I can talk to a certain level, but if you want to make it easy, it's got to be as easy as building something in a game or somewhere else. And that's why a lot of these platforms brought people, because a lot of people don't have the technical capability, and so they go to like the alt spaces that give you the tools and you learn them once. But the open metaverse is going to be no different than building web pages. Right now, you can go to Squarespace and Wix. You don't need to know a
Okay, we are back after we were rudely interrupted by my rugging internet. But thank you everyone for being patient and, sticking by as we came back online. Okay, so still with us, we have Sean, and also I see One Exist has joined us in the chat here. So One Exist, if you have any questions for Sean, you know that you are always welcome to open that mic and ask. Alrighty. Through my freak out, I don't believe I recall the last sentence you said, Sean.
I was saying how great people in Decentraland are, and I can't wait until we can all be a part of an open metaverse that we can all join together. But I can't remember, to be honest with you. I'm sorry.
No, all good, all good. It's my fault. I was like, hey, did Sean crash? Little did I know that it was just me crashing.
No, you're good. You're good. I like this. I like the mouse here going. Is that this like dead mouse?
It is my Dead Mouse helmet that I bought when I first came into Decentraland back in 2021 for the Metaverse Music Festival, the first ever Metaverse Music Festival. Dead Mouse was performing at it, and I snagged myself a helmet.
I love it. I love it.
But so I guess just to kick back the conversation.
Oh,
Oh,
Make was talking about no code tools. My man Make
yes.
was getting loving the no code tool heaven over there, and so we definitely got his back. But yeah, if there's any other question on the no code, I'm happy to go down or answer any other questions that people have.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, I'm looking down. Let's see, someone needs no. I was just going looking through, seeing if there were any questions that someone dropped. And thank you, One Exists, for keeping the crowd updated on my status. I'm seeing
You,
here that
you know, what's funny? I called him MetaBeast forever, and now it's One Exist. I feel like
what.
I'm dealing with two different people, right? It's like I don't know what to call him.
Well,
It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like, is it depending on the day?
well, it's more like that I just don't seem to have to adapt very well because I've known our friend here for so long since he was One Existence. So kind of that name is just ingrained in my heart, and that is who he is. And I think he's okay with it. He tells me he's all right with me calling him that.
I met him in person. It was really cool to meet him in person. He came up to me. He's like Sean, and I'm like, yeah. And the funny thing is, like, you don't know what these people look like or how they talk or they sound like, because a lot of times, I know what they talk like. So definitely the sound of the voice gave it away. But I'm like, oh my god, there's no way. I was like, what's up? Or like, it's so cool to meet people. And I had this when I was a gamer. I remember I was playing Ultima Online. I don't know if you guys have ever played Ultima Online, but it was a pretty badass game by Ralph Kostner. And I had this guy I played with for a couple of years, and I ended up meeting him in person in Cyprus. He was in the British freaking Air Force in Cyprus. And I was traveling when I graduated college. He's like, dude, you got to come by for a couple days. And this is like the power of gaming is like you get to meet people that share a cool experience. They don't care what you look like. They don't care what you sound like. They don't care where you're from. You're just having fun. And if you enjoy being with that person, then you don't judge them, right? And then here I got to go meet him in person, and he was a real person that was literally in the British Air Force. He showed me around the base, got to spend a couple days, and it just brought us together like in a way. And I'm like, this is like really, really cool. And I think that's what the idea of the metaverse is, that you can
Yep.
be who you want to be. You can meet the people you want to be with. And then one day, like when that melds with the real world, it's like that's pretty damn special. Like that's pretty cool. Like I can take this further than just seeing someone in a platform. And to me, that the idea of that open metaverse is just that's going to bring us together in ways that I think are, it's no different than, I don't think people could comprehend what the World Wide Web was going to do for mankind. Like the idea that someone could be in Nigeria or in Sumatra or in Nepal or something like that and talk to someone in California or San Fran or New York seamlessly through the internet. Like it was just mind-boggling that you can share this data. And now imagine we can actually join each other in the real world. Like it's going to be pretty darn cool. But anyway, it looks like you have another question. Let's go for the next
Well,
one.
no, I even wanted to add to what you were saying, that and agree that I do feel metaverse does add an extra layer to connecting with people, even in real life. I can think back to uh, what was it? NFT Miami 2022, when I met a few of our community members, including Make, and Odd Job, a few others. And I just have to say that the same energy that I feel radiates off of their avatar, it radiates off of the same person as well. Like it didn't
Totally.
feel like we were meeting for the first time. It felt like we already knew each other for a long time, and we're just friends meeting each other in a city for an event.
You could try to pretend you're somebody else, but over the long haul, you're going to be who you are. And either people are going to love being with you or not be with you, or you're going to either be self-aware or not self-aware, and people are not going to care that you're not self-aware, because sometimes you need a group with a mixture of people that are overly self-aware and are not self-aware, because the non-self-aware ones are the funny ones and they make it fun. So the whole point of being human is that you be who you are and you find your community. I mean, that's why Decentraland is badass, is because you have a community that found each other and they all like each other for who they are and they contribute in that way, which makes it special. It'd be no different than all the communities that exist in the world. And the whole idea is, how do you bring those communities together where it's seamless to join multiple communities in 3D spaces and not have the friction and everything. And that's what I just defined is the web, but just the web wasn't capable of it. So that's why you have all these wall garden platforms popping up, because they provide those services that you couldn't do on your own. But that's what the new browser is going to do. I mean, the new
Hmm.
browser solves that. And we're going to be able to do things that are so much bigger than what's possible today. And it's going to allow us to connect in ways that is so seamless. Like you could be eating food at your dinner and Make can come join you and be like, what's up, Sinful? You mind if I just join and kick it and we can chat? I'm like, sure. And he just sits there across the table with you and you give him access to your spatial fabric and boom, he's in your house. And it's your choice, just like it is your website. But it's like you can pick and choose the people you want to interact with. Like to me, that's cool. I mean, I don't know how cool. It doesn't get any cooler than that. And we have demonstration of that right now with these wall garden systems. But imagine when it's in the open. Oh man, it's going to be killer.
And the whole concept of inviting someone into your I think you described it as spatial fabric, your
That's the
space.
name for the. That's the evolution of a website. That's correct. So
Hmm.
instead of building a website, you build a spatial fabric. Correct.
Like inviting someone to your spatial fabric. Everyone, I feel like everyone thinks of that as like hologram. Like we got to get to hologram technology in order to get to
Yep.
that. But I mean, we've been overlooking AR glasses this entire time. As we mentioned, as we spoke about earlier, AR glasses could be the first iteration of this concept.
It could be AR glasses, but you can also have a camera that literally can put out a video of something in real time. Again, those are just devices. They're
Hmm.
just access into the experiences. Someone can invent something that might be just a neck pendulum that projects like an image in front of you, and they solve that. That's really hard, obviously, because you need something light enough and that can project and you can see in the real world. It has strong enough light, like an image. But those are it doesn't stop people from figuring out different ways to access the metaverse. AR glasses will just be one of those. You can pull up you can hold up an iPad if you wanted to, or your desktop at home. You can join someone in the real world. It doesn't matter what device. Each device will give you different types of experience. It's kind of like imagine if I wanted to be a gamer. Let's say my old man wants to be like a Fortnite killer and he joins Fortnite. Well, he doesn't have to go buy a $4,000 gaming rig. He could just do anything and just start playing Fortnite. But then when he becomes really good and he's like, man, I want a better system so I could be more immersed, and I want a bigger monitor so it's easier for me to kill people and all this kind of stuff. Well, then you'll invest in a better experience. Same thing as with the metaverse. I mean, you can walk around without AR glasses, but if you're doing that and you're getting sick of holding up a phone, you're gonna be like, man, AR glasses just be easier. And you'll go buy a pair of AR glasses, and they're expensive, but they're gonna be no different than how cell phones. You pay $50 a month for a
Hmm.
$1,500 phone or something. The same thing will be true for AR glasses. So it's not there's gonna be sticker shock because you're gonna see the price, but I don't think people realize how expensive phones are. They just, it just gets lopped into your monthly payment on your cell phone bill, and you deal with it. But cell phones are 1,000, 1,200, $1,300. I mean, the new iPhone Fold that's coming out is going to be $2,200. It's nuts. AR glasses is going to be, $2,000. I mean, they'll probably be more enterprise driven in the beginning, but eventually I think everyone's going to own them because the experience is going to be too special for people not to want to have those cool things, connecting with people.
After tonight's conversation, I am most definitely going to be one of those individuals that owns AR glasses.
Oh yeah.
Now, I think the challenge will be like finding the right one, because as you mentioned earlier, there are different companies working on their own solution for this. For
It's going to suck. Yes. It's going to be awful, and that's why I'm hopeful. If anyone in the audience, you work at any one of these companies, you need to adopt these new standards, because no one is going to buy glasses from any one of these companies at scale until they know it's going to work across all devices. You
Yes.
can't have a company control an airport. You can't have a company control your house. And right now, they're going to all race to have that full control, just like AOL raced to control the entire internet. But at some point, someone was brave enough to build a web browser, and we just happen to be the ones brave enough to say, you know what, RP1 could have built this as another platform. Because at the end of the day, a browser is a
Hmm.
platform to a degree,
Yep.
right? It's an access to things. And we said, no one can own this technology. This has to be owned by the world. And so that's why we approached Neil Trevitt at the Metaverse Standards Forum and said, this needs to be built under a nonprofit that no one company can control. And he agreed. And that's why we started the Open Metaverse Browser Initiative. And so now everyone can feel safe that this can't be taken away from anybody. In fact, if RP1 were to go out of business and never exist, spatial fabrics will live on, and someone will build another browser, and there'll be open source browsers, and there'll be like, no one can take away. This is that moment. And I
Hmm.
kid you not, this is the moment for the open metaverse. And you're all going to remember this talk. And Sinful, you were the person that brought this together or something like that. This is the first set of real standards that are being built in the open that are going to usher in the evolution of the entire World Wide Web. And it's going to bring the power to each of every one of us, whether you want to be a tool maker, or you want to build spatial fabrics, or you want to build a company. It doesn't matter. You now have the open ecosystem to build towards. It's a pretty special moment in the industry, and it's not owned by any company, which makes it that much more special.
Yeah, I can't wait to be looking back 50 years from now and just telling my grandchildren about the stories. I interviewed Sean Mann once.
Yeah, but no one ever remembers. Like, if I were to watch, I'm going to ask anyone. Does anyone know who the original person was that built the very first web browser? Does anyone?
Nope, nope. Not me.
Does anyone know? No, I'm saying, but does anyone? I'm curious if anyone. I'm sure they're googling it right now, but no one ever remembers this. His name was actually Tim Berners-Lee, and he was the actual man behind the original browser. In fact, the worldwide www was actually the name of the very first browser.
Oh, okay.
And if you go to your research, it's pretty crazy. Like, if you look at like the browser story, and it wasn't until Andreessen came in and built Mosaic, and then you had Netscape, and you had all these companies. You had basically a browser war where
Hmm.
everyone came in and everyone was trying to build browsers and own them and create new feature sets and all these kind of stuff. There was this big movement around the entire browser ecosystem. And so it's that moment. Like you're talking about literally the launching of the tech that's going to be a part of the next evolution of the entire internet. And it's like I kind of like I can't believe I'm even talking about it, and I'm like one of the main people that are helping make this possible. But I'll tell you, it's not just me. You know, my
Hmm.
co-founder, you know, he is the tech mind behind a lot of the technology that's making this all possible.
Hmm.
And guess what? We have Neil that's a part of that journey. We have other people that are going to join and help solve some of the solutions that are needed. So this becomes the mind meld of lots of amazing pioneers that are bringing this together. This is what
Hmm.
makes it so cool. I mean, this is like movie worthy at some point. Like the people coming together to build the idea of what everyone has dreamt about for decades since Snow Crash.
Oh man, can't wait, can't wait. I'm a fan. I definitely am waiting for this feature, and it's kind of cool. No, not kind of cool. It's really cool that to be interviewing someone who is building that future. So let's see. I have a few more questions. Probably like just one Artemis related question and then just some
Go for
closing
it.
questions. So, in practical terms, what can someone do right now when they download Artemis? What does the
Yep.
early experience look like?
So Artemis right now, it is early alpha. So I'm going to be brutally thing. You can build a spatial fabric. So right now you could build your own metaverse server. You could build a 3D scene. You could put assets in that 3D scene. And anyone in the world that can download Artemis, install it, and they can go find your spatial fabric just with a URL. And so I will be able to go directly to your 3D website, and I'll be able to see the assets that you have. And if you were to change the assets and I would just refresh my screen, I would instantly see whatever you added to that 3D scene. The graphics are not going to be great because that's being worked on by big companies like Nvidia and Meta and all that kind of stuff. We got some really amazing people that are getting involved. They're solving the streamable graphics at scale, so we can
Nice.
get stuff closer to Unity and Unreal level in a browser. And so that's all being done in the open. And then I'm hopeful that we'll have massive graphic improvements over the next couple weeks to a couple of months. In about 4 weeks, you're going to be able to embed a service, meaning AI. You can embed any service you want on your spatial fabric. You'll be able to take a chessboard built on any software and literally put it at any location. And if someone goes near that location, they can instantly start playing the game of chess. What's missing right now is going to be VPS, the identity solution,
Hmm.
and avatars. So that doesn't exist. But we're having meetings at the Metaverse Standards Forum where we're going to get groups to start actually building an avatar system that will go to these open standards, and so that'll all start being worked on. And then you'll be able to build layers on top of that. So when you think about what's built into Sneeze and what's built outside of Sneeze, you're building the standardized of APIs and how avatars work. Now everyone can build their own stuff on top of that to make that look unique. It's kind of like everyone can build tools to build different looking websites and everyone can compete with that. Everyone is going to be able to contribute and build their own layers, including identity. We're going to standardize how identity gets into the browser, but anyone will be able to build an identity component and sell those services to you. So I'll be able to say, hey, Sinful, you should pay me $10 and I'll manage your 4 avatars and this. And I got these cool features. And someone else will be able to sell you the same service, but have different feature, but that's all going to be working on the standards that are created by the Sneeze engine that standardize how identity works. So that way, if I build an avatar by you or by someone else, I know it's going to work on all spatial fabrics, right? So
Hmm.
that's why you need Sneeze becomes extremely important because it standardizes the VPS, how Niantic, how all these different companies can participate. It standardizes how avatars work. So Ready Player Me can't rug pull because Netflix bought them and you lose all your avatars. Like you own those assets and no one can never take it away from you ever again. You can pick the stuff and clothing you go on. You can have marketplaces that are going to pop up. They're going to make money off of selling wares to the avatars. You can't do that inside of Roblox. That's how Roblox makes money. That's why no one makes money is because Roblox is the one making 90% off of all the avatars and the customizations because they control that ecosystem. And with these open ecosystem, no one controls that. And so now everyone can, monetize and figure out how they want to sell avatars and wares and cool things, but it'll all work towards the standards of Sneeze. And this is what makes this beyond powerful, because for creators, oh my God, it's going to unlock, and including like the idea of NFTs. I mean, some people may not want to use NFTs, but some artists say, well, I only will build an NFT. So if you want to use my stuff, you got to conform to this. Well, now you have an open ecosystem, but the world will choose if they want those technologies or not. You can't
Mhm.
force any technology on anybody. It's up to the world to say we need to adopt those, but at least it can work across all spatial fabrics,
Mhm.
and that's the most important thing. It has to work across all these things, or it leaves people out of the equation. I believe this will actually unify. Going back to old man's question, is actually it will unify Web3. Web3 couldn't go on Roblox because Roblox wouldn't allow it. They
Mhm.
can't go into these platforms because they don't allow it. But guess what? In an open ecosystem, you can't stop it. And so if you're a Web3 company, you should help finance these standards to happen faster, because it's going to give you access, including AI. It gives you access to physical AI in the real world. All these world models by, the different companies are building world models to be spatially aware. I mean, this is going to bring all these companies together around these standards. It's I can't tell you how big of a deal this is. I mean, we're talking about literally how the rest of the future comes together. It's mind boggling, to be honest with you, and I shake my head because it's too much sometimes. But guess what? We don't have to know it. It's just people are going to start using the tech, and then it
Yep.
becomes easy. And
Mhm.
no one needs to care about DNS and TCP/IP and all these cool things. They just need to know that I go to a website and I buy some cool shit. I mean, that's, excuse my profanity, but you just buy some cool stuff and instantly you're there. That's all that matters. And to me, that's what makes the web powerful, is because there's lots of cool tech there, but you just need to know how to use it, and it works across everywhere in the world. And to me, that's what makes it amazing.
So, kind of a personal follow-up question to that one. Um, like, are there any standards in regards to like IP protection?
That's a good question. I believe that would happen. People are going to start bringing different layers. There is going to be an identity component, where we use something like DID, which is like a W3C standard. And you want to incorporate, obviously a part of the architecture of Sneeze, and which is why it's being built in the open, is we want to find the best identity APIs that exist in the world, with people smarter than I am that are thinking about this problem 24/7, right? And you want to adopt these APIs that make it seamless for other people to build other components on top of it. So it standardizes how you connect different ideas. And so I believe at some point people will invent or incorporate Web3 like technologies. And there will be just people may not, it's kind of like I won't buy a baseball card unless you get it PSA certified.
Hmm.
Right. So
Yeah.
PSA is an open company that creates a service, and then people recognize that service in an open ecosystem. But guess what? You shouldn't have to be stuck with just PSA. If Sinful, you want to quit your day job and go open up a PSA, competitor, you should be able to do that, right? And so the purpose of standards is to create the lowest layer of necessary standards that unlock everyone else to build what they want.
Hmm.
And that's the most important piece. And I think that's where the architecture of Sneeze is super important. Why we want the voices of lots of people to join, because they're going to think about things that we might not be thinking about, so we can incorporate it in the architecture. And the good thing is, we may not get it perfect in the beginning, but the same way the web browser and engines evolved, like the W3C, I mean, I don't know, a lot of people probably don't know, and I didn't know much about the standard organizations before I got involved, but there are people today that are super smart that are thinking about the things that you need to add to the web to give it more features. And they're making sure it doesn't break. It's retroactive to everything that works, because you can't put something in that's going to break websites, right? So someone has to watch this. These new standards are going to be ushered for the next decades. You're going to have people that are going to continue to contribute, add features, make it better, and our job is to get it working and get the best feature sets possible, and the world will help it evolve to what we need. And it's bigger than even who we are, and that's why it's important that we invite anyone that wants to come to the table, that can bring really cool engineering and ideas and technologies, and then you do your best to incorporate them, and eventually that's going to grow. So we one of the call to actions is, if there's any philanthropists that are here, the Metaverse Standards Forum does need funding. It needs funding to make sure this is not owned by any one company, including companies can fund. It doesn't give them control of the source, but it gives them the ability to make sure it's ready for work on their devices. And so any individual or company or even government can fully get involved with this project. and help it grow extremely fast. Because the more funds you can get, the more engineers you can have working on it. And now it's being built in the open, so any company in the world can start using these technologies. And so we definitely need participation. And so
Mhm.
that's why it's really important to unite everyone versus saying, "Hey, look at us, we're building, all by ourselves. Wait until it's all finished." No, this is really an invitation for the world to join, including the Decentraland community. I mean, if they feel they can contribute or have ideas, or they want to roll their sleeves up because they're really good at engineering and donate engineering time and all this stuff, it goes to a nonprofit. The Metaverse Stands Forum is not for profit organization to manage these open source projects. And the Sneeze project happens to be the first being built in the complete open. So it's a rally cry definitely for people to come and participate and help it grow faster.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, let's see. Closing question number one out of three.
Okay.
For builders and communities who care about decentralization and open systems, what should they be watching or supporting right now?
That's a good question. In reality, they should be supporting everything about spatial fabrics because it enables you to really have full ownership. Again, your spatial fabric runs on your servers and no one controls. You can have whatever content. The only thing you can't do is what's illegal in your country that you live in, right? So if you do something illegal, obviously someone can come find you and shut down your servers. But that's with anything. But right now, the whole purpose of this project is to give the power back to any individual to own their own space, own their assets, own their data, and not be controlled by any one company.
Mhm.
And so if they want to support this, I would invite them to support the Metaverse Standards Forum, the Open Metaverse Browser Initiative, and contribute and help make sure that that is never going to be owned by any one company, and that these technologies can come to market much faster. And that's going to take obviously contributions and stuff. It's being built really fast, but we definitely need help. And I think it would be the quicker they can support it, the quicker that they can start enjoying the power of what we're bringing to the table.
Totally. I agree. And so, what has been one thing that is what is an underappreciated part of what you're building? Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm botching this. What is one underappreciated part of building this infrastructure that you wish people understood more?
You know what? You hear about the fail. Well, I guess there's two things. The idea of the metaverse. I think the metaverse got butchered, right? Everyone thinks the metaverse is meta,
Mm-hmm.
or the metaverse is not here yet, or it's dead yet. And it's no different than if AOL were to say they were the World Wide Web, people would laugh. They're like, no, you're AOL, and the World Wide Web is the open ecosystem that we now all enjoy for the last couple of decades. And the term metaverse, I want to reclaim for all of us. It's not owned by any one company. It never was. It was a term to really depict the evolution of the World Wide Web. And I think you had enterprises that had a lot of money that tried to claim the term, or at least say they were the metaverse. But I want everyone to know that the metaverse is the evolution of the World Wide Web, and it is not owned by anyone. It is all encompassing of not just virtual spaces, but the future of AR and 3D and smart cities and robotics. Like the metaverse makes that all possible. That's number one. Number two, everyone has said that we're in this VR winter, and no one wants these technologies, and they all like it's just such a quirky group and all this kind of stuff. And I want to knock that to the ground really fast. Without an open ecosystem, everyone can't adopt these technologies for obvious reasons. Like that whole airport analogy, like if the airport wants to eventually adopt AR glasses, they can't do it without an open ecosystem. So if we all want to succeed and see these technologies in mass scale, we have to solve the ownership and the democratization of running and managing these things without people controlling your data. And you have to be able to own your infrastructure, and you have to be device agnostic, meaning it can work on any device. If you don't solve that, then everything else everyone is building is going to be just closed ecosystems that are going to have a very small ceiling. Now, you may do smart glasses that are cool little translators and the cool video, and I can upload it to my Snap, or I can do this. That's not full on AR glasses. That's not the metaverse. Those are just a step towards that direction. But if we really want the big vision, we've been talking about for the last hour plus or something like that, is that we need these standards, and we all need to make it happen together. That way, all the devices we're talking about will flourish, and we'll all be able to use them in a way that we can all participate in. You all want to be in a closed ecosystem where a company takes all your money, controls all your data, you're the product, which is pretty much on any platform, then keep doing what you're doing. But if you want something different and you want to break those chains and you want to create an open ecosystem, come be a part of the Open Metaverse Standards Forum and create the open metaverse together. And to me, that's what needs to happen, and that's what we're ushering in. So it's I think that would be the misnomers I think people think about.
I love it. Thank you, thank you. So, I mean, final question, and it's more, I guess, more on the personal side. We're going back in time to a new, a Sean Mann's just coming into Web3 for the first time ever. What is one piece of advice that you would give to a newcomer coming into the space that you wish someone gave to you when you came into Web3?
So that's a good question. I think the promise of Web3 is to again take away the control of the man and give power back to the individual. That's truly what the notion of Web3 was here for. And I think there's plenty of people that bought that vision. They're like, we're tired of the fees. Like if you just go wire money or try to wire money or take money out of a bank account or something like that, you right away find out how controlled you are in so many ways. And I think people are seeing that as social media has more information, as there's more information on what's happening around you. I think people are wanting more freedom, more ownership, and don't want people to control the decisions and things that they do. And Web3 is the type of tools that can give the freedom back to the individual. And I want to say that we're still in the early days of Web3. Like when I say so early, like we're gonna laugh. Like we think it's been like decades of like this technology, and oh my God, it's been here and no one wants it and this. But the problem is if you look at Bitcoin, you look at this, it's not easy to transact. It doesn't work across all mediums. You have big, fees. Like I can't sell a $10 hat, or I can't run a company where all of a sudden my unit of Web3 can drop, 30 points or something and I go bankrupt, or maybe positively go up 30 points and make lots of money. But you can't have that volatility, right? You
Yeah.
need something that's stable, that can move similar to how fiat works today, but decentralized with the promise of what Web3 brings. And so I would say that it is early. And I think the promises of what Web3 can bring is still there. It just needs the open standards to unlock its potential. And so I think those will be eventually adopted by lots of amazing companies. And there are lots of companies that are already adopting Web3 across a lot of stuff that they do for the right reasons. And I think Web3 has a lot of use cases that are going to be unlocked when you have global open ecosystems. And to me, it's just the beginning. In fact, virtual worlds are just the beginning. AR glass is just the beginning.
Yeah.
I believe the time starts now, because if you look around, all the companies are spending billions of dollars solving the problems that we're talking about, because it's going to happen. And this is no longer a dream. This is actually going to happen. It's just a matter, is it a year? Is it 3 years? But it's going to happen pretty darn fast, and it's going to be exciting. So I would say tell everyone it is just new, and we're just starting, to be perfectly honest with you.
Mhm.
Even though it doesn't feel that way, it's starting now. And I think a lot of these technologies are going to start coming together in a really, really powerful way.
Yes, I agree. I agree that this is the start. For years, like, just me being in Decentraland, being a Decentraland native, not knowing how to code or anything like that. I felt very limited over the years, and just 2025, 2026, just starting to really get into dabbling into AI, and there's new capabilities where you can
Oh yeah.
integrate AI into your building a workflow here in Decentraland, and that has unlocked so many doors for someone like myself that is not a developer to be able to build something in my favorite world. So I agree with you that this is only the beginning. And, my example of the use case is just a little grain of sand in the whole, beach of of possibilities here that we have here in 2026.
And we're going to be able to, and look at, you guys are still pioneers. You guys know what this looks like, how it works, and why you're doing these things. You're just going to have more powerful tools. You're going to have more powerful reach. And guess what? When the masses join what you guys are doing at Decentraland, when that community is that much bigger, that's when you can start making money. That's when you can start having job
Exactly.
opportunities and all the things that come together. And AI 100% unlocks it. The idea that I can just think about a space and it's magically be created for me, and instantly I'm there with my friends, and I can grab any service built by any company and just drop it for any game or interaction or whatever that I want to do. That is going to be mind blowing, man. It's going to be crazy. Like I'll give you one cooler thing. You could literally like wake up tomorrow and say, I want to be able to look up with my air glasses and know what airplane is flying above me. Well, guess what? Someone can build that service. It's open data. You can build a piece of software that fetches that data, knows exactly where you're standing and the entire environment around you. And it will know that United Airlines flight 245 is right now flying right above me. And I'll be able to look with my air glasses and I'll have a label on every single airplane flying around. And that's just one service. Imagine a service that is the robotics that's cleaning my bedroom, or the service that connects my toaster, or
Hmm.
a service that's an AI for Samsung for my washer and dryer, saying, "Hey, Sean, dryer's done. You want me to throw it over into a thing?" I'm like, "Sure, go for it."
Hmm.
Like, we're gonna interact with things. It's gonna be like the Jetsons, man. It's gonna be like going back in the past. I don't know if you remember the Jetsons, but it's gonna
Yes,
be
I
like
do.
the future is coming, and you're gonna remember that these standards are gonna make that all seamless. Like when it's seamless, people will adopt the technologies. If it's really hard, we're going to be lonely with our smaller communities. And to be honest with you, once the world adopts this, we're all going to be famous. I mean, you guys are all going to be the pioneers of virtual spaces and what you do in those things. You're just going to have more powerful tools to make it even more impactful. And so
Hmm.
it's going to be it's going to be pretty darn cool.
Can't wait, can't wait. All right,
Yep.
well, that concludes all my questions that I had for you tonight. Do you have any final thoughts to that you'd like to leave everyone with tonight?
Sinful, man, I just want to thank you for inviting me out. I think what you do is awesome. You bring a community together. You are like a leader of a community because you give a voice to the people to have conversation on Sundays. You bring people together in events and whatnot, and you give a lot to the community. And to be honest, with you, without people like you being ambassadors and helping bridge people together and solve problems, these communities don't operate. And so I just want to say thank you for what you do for Decentraland. Thank you for inviting me and allowing me to share this with everyone. And thank you for everyone that showed up today and wanted to listen to what I had to say and all the cool stuff that's happening or something like that. So I just
Mhm.
want to say thank you to the entire community, and I just want to leave by saying this is an open invitation. So if you're worth $1 billion, you can get involved. If you're not worth anything, but you're an engineer that can contribute, please reach out. If you just want to start building and using the technology and giving feedback, go for it. No matter who you are, there is a place to participate and be a part of this movement. And so I just want to say thank you, and hopefully we can all unify around the new standards and enjoy what it's going to bring to the entire world. So thank you
Mhm.
for everything.
Appreciate you. And this has been an awesome conversation. So this kind of popped in my head. Will you be in New York in September?
What's in September? Tell
Uh,
me. Tell me.
NFT New York, September 1st through the
Ah,
3rd.
you know what? It may be tough. I do have a pretty crazy travel schedule. I do
Hmm.
know I'm going to DC because we're getting the government involved, because it is
Nice.
important for the U.S. government to help fund a lot of the open standards that the world's going to benefit from. And but I don't think I'll be able to make NFT. Um, but I've been to like the NFT LAs and whatnot. I haven't been to the NFT New York before. I know NFT LA doesn't happen anymore, but I know it was super popular when it first came out. I do go to like SIGGRAPH. I go to like AWE, which is a real big thing for spatial computing and XR devices and whatnot. So I try to get to as many events as possible. But we're a super small team, so we're putting all of our effort in really building out all these new technologies so that the world can start using them.
Hmm.
So, but if I can make it out there, I will definitely reach out and say hello. But maybe if it's not this year, maybe next year.
Well, yeah, for sure. I will be speaking at NFT NYC this year, so I will definitely be out there. And give me a shout if you are.
And you better tell the NFT world, man, they need these technologies. If they want the world or NFTs to be a thing, like now's the time to join. I mean, this gives the voice to the people. It gives the voice to the
Exactly.
creators. And you can't get a bigger ecosystem than the World Wide Web. I'll tell you that much. So
Hmm.
it's an opportunity for everyone to get involved. So
Yep.
it's definitely hopefully you spread the message.
Yes, sir. I agree. And I will try my hardest to spread the good message. Alrighty. So, everyone, thank you so much for coming to tonight's episode of Beyond the NFT. I see even after our internet rug, we still have 15 friends in the world and a few of you watching on all streaming platforms. Really appreciate your time, the love, and your patience as well. Your patience is greatly appreciated. um, and yeah, that's our wrap for tonight's episode of Beyond the NFT. We will be back here next week for another episode. And keep an eye out for the CBD X Spaces on Saturday at noon Eastern. And also, remember, guys, we host the Meta Beast roaming party over at Make Stack every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. So take care, everyone, and I'll play some music for us so we can all just relax for the rest of the evening. But thank you, everyone, for coming here. It means the world to me. And yeah, expect more shows to come. Love you all. Good night.
Take care. Good night, everybody. Thank you.